I'm sure by now you've all heard of Bonnie Blue. And if you haven't, she is that sweet, warm-hearted lady who in her short 25 years on planet Earth is clearly dedicated to nothing less than achieving her goals. Bonnie Blue, mostly known for bedding 1,000+ men in 12 hours, also keeps herself viral with her witty comebacks, rage-bait remarks, and in recent days, the now cancelled event, Petting Zoo.
I quite like Jeffrey Dahmer.
Would you smash Jeffrey Dahmer?
I wasn't really his type, maybe you'd be more his type.
Men, just a reminder, don't ever feel guilty for cheating on your wife. It's her fault for being lazy and not pleasuring you.
I'm not to get
Who should I
cancelled.
shout out so I don't get cancelled?
Maybe Jesus?
I love...
Right.
If I get sent to prison,
Yeah.
I want to identify as a male, so I can do all the time.
Say you had your kids and your husband and you had that life and you seen a girl kind of sleeping with the young boys, do you think your mindset would be different towards what you're doing?
I'd have been jealous.
So many 18-year-olds.
Got
It was
you,
like,
man. She's a nonce, bruv. What's your goal though? Like what's levels to you? Like, yo, I'm gonna be in the Guinness Book of World Records when I hit this number.
I think like 10,000. Imagine getting a number of 10,000. Now that'd be something my daddy would be very proud.
This thing is tapped, bruv. It's giving mental health, bruv.
Your dad's also very cute.
No, he's a good-looking guy. Married.
That's okay.
Committed.
That makes no difference.
My mom's crazy.
It's alright, I don't need your mom, I just need your dad.
Oh, she'd kill you.
My security's quite good, so...
Mom, you better watch the fuck out. Can't stop this one.
Bonnie Blue's Petting Zoo. I am going to be in a glass box, tied up, and it's going to be open for the public.
Oh my God.
Get me in the box, but people can join me to me, touch me, just look at me.
She has been accused of being a siren, possessed by a demon, having dead eyes, and also accused of being a predator.
She is now possessed with something. She's not now possessed, completely possessed by a demon. Whatever y'all are talking to is not human. She is habitated by a demon. She's probably locked in a cage in her mind and she can't even get out.
I'm really concerned because people keep saying my eyes are soulless. Do you think my eyes are soulless?
Soulless? What is that?
As in I've got no soul. Do my eyes look like I've been created by a demon?
Never in recent memory have we seen a woman so enthusiastic to sleep her way through the world for profitable gain. Now, before we begin Bonnie Blue versus psychology, my personal opinion on her is very neutral. To me, she is revealing the underbelly of society, which is that if a woman, any woman, is available, at least 1,000 men will line up just to be with her. And I'm sure all of these men aren't single, and I'm even more sure that more men would have shown up if they knew no one would ever find out and it could be a secret they could take to the grave. The way I see it, there is one Bonnie Blue, but there are thousands of men. So should we blame the one for their actions instead of the thousands for theirs? Bonnie Blue isn't paying herself $600,000 a week. She interviewed with a TikToker named Mr. TikToky. And what amused me the most was the same kind of men that made her were now the same men trying to tear her down.
What I would honestly say is what you're actually putting out there is probably not even who you are. You're doing it just for clips to be the most bait girl in the world to make the money you're making, which is, I respect the money you're making.
The way I would.
You wouldn't sleep with 1,000 guys if you weren't filming it. You wouldn't do it. So that's not who you are. Moroccan things have the tightest Peshwari punani, yeah, in the world. Could barely put one finger in. Alright, can I sniff that naan bread right now, please?
Can you get what?
Also, for the first time, I often wonder if the world is mad at sex workers, because it used to be rare to see women profit off their bodies. These kinds of women typically always had managers.
Who are you? My name is a pimp named Slickback, and I believe I may have misplaced some merchandise at this residence. There she is.
He's my pimp.
Your pimp? So you really are
Yes, she's a hoe.
Come on, bitch, now!
As society has known it, Women have historically sold their bodies in exchange for cash, and their money was divided up and split via their management. But the Bonnie Blues of the world, well, they're making conscious decisions to exploit themselves and collect the money too. I don't believe Bonnie Blue is a representation of female empowerment, nor do I think her activities should be promoted. However, if a woman is going to sell the most intimate part of herself for money, I do believe every penny should belong to her. Would society be so mad at her if she had a manager? After all, many managers seem to only get praise and are labelled as businessmen.
So I've obviously seen your agency is very good at, setting people up, starting them a page and getting them off the mark. But for the bigger creators who are already earning money, they already understand the platform, what is it that you can actually do for them?
It's very simple. We always have girls come to us that are already earning 10 to 15k a month anyway, and we can easily scale them to 20, 25, 30k a month because we have such good understanding of the industry. Obviously, we take a cut, but at the same time, because of our understanding, we're going to be making more money anyway. But the main thing is we free up all of their time because we run their accounts for them, so they can literally go and do whatever they want with their free time and enjoy their earnings. It's literally a win-win for the model and the agency.
So when I need a model to get something done on a checklist and it takes them days to do it when another model would take them 30 minutes, that is what is very frustrating because I know the potential that they have, and when they don't want to unlock that potential, it really frustrates me because I want them to make money. Obviously, I make money from them making money, so seeing them not want it as bad as I want them to want it is frustrating.
You previously worked with an OnlyFans management company, right?
Ages ago, yeah, I'm not with them anymore. But
Ages ago, yeah. How much money did they take from you?
they took like 50%.
50%?
Yeah.
Half your money went to an agency?
And then I was like, absolutely not.
I think that there's so many of them now which basically operate as like almost grooming.
Yeah.
It seems.
And they'll try to talk to you, and a lot of them will just try have you on their agency so they can see your needs.
They will tell you to target 17-year-old girls that have like 10k followers on Instagram.
Yeah.
And they will say, look, you can do a contract with us, and as soon as you turn 18, you will be an OF star and you can be earning money.
Yeah, and that's all such a lie because I got by myself to where I am today, by myself.
Let's say you're an 18-year-old girl, you might just want to sell feet pics or something. They will encourage you to do more and more and more.
So they can get the money.
Yeah.
I merely observe Bonnie Blue and the world's reaction to her. I believe she is more man-made than a result of feminism. There have always been Bonnie Blues. There just wasn't a marketing powerhouse and an international platform available. Whether you love or hate her, one thing she definitely is a mirror on how the world acts towards the unapologetic whore. The purpose of this video is to use psychology to take a deep dive into why she would create challenges like sleeping with 1,000 men in 12 hours. Why would she aim to sleep with 10,000 men in her lifetime? Why would a woman make plans to have anyone do anything to her? This is more than attention. This is more than money. This is more than going viral. Bonnie Blue's background is one of stark contrast. Originally born as Tia Emma Billinger on May the 14th, 1999, she started life in a modest working-class family in Nottinghamshire with her mother Sarah, stepfather Nicholas, and 2 half-sisters. Her mother and stepfather have both played very active, supportive roles in her career. Her mother, previously a hairdresser, now acts as Bonnie's personal assistant.
What was it like after cleaning up after Bang?
Messy. Hundreds of condoms, boxer shorts, tops, stained bed sheets, wet bed sheets.
So even when you hear, that she slept with 158 guys in 2 weeks.
It's just part of a job and that's it.
So you don't have any kind of, emotional response to it?
At first I did, but not anymore.
Her stepfather Nicholas is a welder by trade. Although he doesn't watch her content, he is proud of her and how she has used her earnings to improve their lives. Bonnie had typical aspirations in healthcare, and dance, and even competed in the British Street Dance Championships.
Proud of everything, but I always have been, you know. I was proud of her when she was dancing, I was proud of her at school. Liked to arts and crafts and making things, and then loved dancing from sort of like 3 or 4.
What do you think she liked about the dance, the movement, or...?
She was just really good at it. She was just amazing, like really, really good at dancing, so...
Was she quite competitive? Did she want to win awards?
Oh, God, yeah.
Did she?
Yeah, yeah. Her and her dance partner came second, like, in the world in the UDO competition. They got a really massive trophy. It was really good.
When Bonnie began to make big money, she put all her family on the payroll so they could give up their day jobs.
My family, since I've started, I've had to put up with the hate. I get that, but I also get the life I live and the money. So it's like I also want them to receive some of the rewards.
She never knew her biological father, so he was never present in her life. At 15, she dated a classmate who she moved to Australia with and eventually married. However, they are now separated. After completing school and working regular jobs in industries such as retail and recruitment, she pivoted sharply into online adult content creation, and OnlyFans propelled her into global notoriety with controversial public stunts. Her target audience is 18 to 19-year-olds, and she often visited popular universities to promote her services.
Hey college boys, I'll be going to spring break this year in Cancun and I cannot wait for you to get me on my knees.
I don't think I've gone young enough. Yeah, I want the most barely legal 18-year-old. Ideally just 30 seconds past midnight.
Her journey from ordinary upbringing to embracing a flamboyant and controversial lifestyle reflects a combination of entrepreneurial drive, social media savvy, and media spectacle, coupled with significant scrutiny and polarized responses. Even with Bonnie joining OnlyFans, with OF having 1.8 creators this year, unfortunately that decision nowadays isn't considered a controversial one. So what pushed Bonnie further into her decision of degeneracy? Let's take a look at Bonnie Blue versus psychology. This is my perspective as a person who isn't a qualified psychologist or therapist, but as someone who takes an interest in psychology and uses it to dissect the weird and wonderful. Using psychology, a professional might describe Bonnie Blue as someone who exhibits high levels of extroversion, assertiveness, and novelty seeking. She has a carefully crafted public identity that blends sexuality, control, and rebellion. Her lifestyle choices suggest a bold redefinition of agency, though there may also serve as mechanisms for coping with emotional voids or unmet relational needs. The protective influence of her family appears to buffer her from emotional fallout, though her long-term well-being would depend on maintaining boundaries, emotional awareness, and autonomy beyond public perception. The absence of her biological father may have influenced early attachment patterns. While she had a supportive stepfather, early parental absence is often associated with themes of self-worth, autonomy, and interpersonal trust. Her teenage years involve dance and competitive performance, which suggests a foundation of structured discipline, but also early exposure to being evaluated on physical presentation. Her mother's active involvement in her adult content career may reflect enmeshment, where parent and child roles or boundaries become blurred. Has Bonnie developed a secure and anxious, preoccupied attachment style, especially in how she relates to intimacy, validation, and authority? Sexual expression may serve as a means of gaining control over her own narrative and identity. Engaging in provocative behavior and inviting public critique could act as a way to regulate emotions through adrenaline, attention, or reframing shame into empowerment. Her humour and boldness may serve as defences against vulnerability, rejection, and internal distress. Bonnie's traits suggest histrionic personality features, an intense need for attention, sexual provocation, and dramatic self-presentation.
So today's question is, can you explain histrionic personality disorder? My sister has recently been diagnosed with it. So histrionic personality disorder, or HPD, is a mental disorder characterized by excessive and exaggerated attention-seeking behavior. So those with the condition have a very distorted self-image and are completely consumed by their desire to be noticed by others and to be the center of attention. And so their behavior is completely melodramatic and often very inappropriate, all in an attempt to get noticed. So their self-esteem becomes completely dependent upon this constant recognition and approval from others, and they tend to feel very underappreciated whenever they're not the center of attention. Now, contrary to what you may see on TikTok or on Facebook or on YouTube, the condition is actually very rare, and it's more commonly diagnosed in women than in men. But that's not to say there is a common misconception that NPD is diagnosed in men and HPD is diagnosed in women, and these are the same thing. But this is completely untrue. Men can also be diagnosed with HPD, and women can, of course, also be diagnosed with NPD. Now, HPD usually starts to manifest itself in late teens or early 20s. And the most common feature of HPD is the display of excessive sexuality in order to draw more attention to themselves. So you'll find that they're completely obsessed with their physical appearance and act completely inappropriately in terms of being very sexually provocative with pretty much most people they meet. And so as such, they often embarrass themselves in public, but not just themselves, they embarrass their friends and colleagues who happen to be with them as well. And because they inevitably come across as fake and shallow, they also have difficulty maintaining meaningful relationships. And people suffering with the condition also have a higher risk of developing depression or falling into substance abuse as well. Now, a lot of research still needs to be done in order to come to a better understanding of HPD, but it's theorized that causes for the condition may include genetic factors and, of course, the experience of childhood trauma as well. Now, obviously, the treatment for the condition is incredibly difficult. And it's incredibly difficult because most people with HPD almost never believe that they have behavioral problems or that their behaviors are problematic. And they also tend to not be totally honest about their feelings, and as such, really difficult and complicated to put a treatment plan together for them. So there are no medications which can be prescribed for HPD, and so psychotherapy tends to be the best option for treatment. And the purpose of which is to try and at least uncover what motivates the distorted behavior itself. Of course, the irony of HPD is that if you're around someone with it for short periods of time, they can actually make quite fun and charismatic companions. You know, they'll be the life and soul of the party, so to speak. But obviously, it can be a very debilitating illness, and sufferers do suffer quite tremendously with it, as do their families and friends and those around them. Obviously, there's a lot of talk about it now because of the Johnny Depp trial and Amber Reid and so on. So, of course, I suppose it's something that's much more well known, and so it looks as if it's much more prevalent than it actually is, but it's not. So that's what histrionic personality disorder is.
High-functioning narcissistic traits could also be present, grandiosity, entitlement, and an exaggerated sense of uniqueness, balanced by her strategic interpersonal charm. Bonnie Blue presents as a high-functioning, emotionally resilient adult who uses sexuality and public performance as a primary identity tools. While this may offer agency and financial empowerment, it also reflects underlying coping strategies tied to attachment patterns, emotional regulation, and validation needs. Perhaps early parental absence left gaps in identity formation, emotional security, or self-worth. Some individuals respond by seeking visibility, approval, and control, especially in areas like body image, relationships, and performance. Whenever her public sexual identity is a means of reclaiming power, vulnerability, and autonomy, or if she finds emotional satisfaction in subverting expectations or shocking societal norms, even negative attention fulfills a psychological need unmet earlier in life. From a clinical view, this may represent a compensatory strategy for earlier emotional neglect or invisibility. Bonnie presents as a resilient and autonomous woman who has used adult entertainment not just for a financial vehicle but also as means of asserting control over her identity, sexuality, and public image. Her choices may reflect both genuine empowerment and adaptive responses to early emotional dynamics, such as the absence of a biological father, a need for visibility, and a deep desire for validation and control. Now let's dive into Bonnie Blue's petting zoo. The petting zoo was Bonnie's great idea to be tied up naked in a glass box which would be open to the public to do whatever they want to her in central London.
What challenges do you have next?
Bonnie Blue's petting zoo. I am going to be in a glass box, tied up, and it's going to be open for the public.
Oh my God.
Get me in the box, but people can join me to me, touch me, just look at me.
Where?
I'm going to be in the centre of London, but in a house.
Oh, okay. Not
In a
like,
house, in a
right,
glass
okay.
box, yeah.
So I was thinking like David Blaine.
I mean, I'd love to be on the back of a lorry in a glass box, my way through the London.
Right.
That would probably be illegal.
Probably.
So I want to do 2,000.
2,000?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
This stunt has been compared to illusionist David Blaine's performance, where he confined himself in a transparent box 30 feet over the River Thames for 44 days.
Above the below, and you were suspended 30 feet up or something, maybe higher, in this box in the middle of London, and you were in it for 44 days. You survived on like 4.5 liters of water a day.
Yeah.
And I think you lost like 60 pounds.
Yeah.
And I used to come wave at you. But you don't remember me.
I remember the good energy.
Petting Zoo has also been compared to the performance piece by artist Marina Abramovich, Rhythm Zero, where the audience was invited to use a variety of objects on her body for 6 hours.
In 1974, a woman named Marina Abramovich walked into a gallery to do a performance that would shock the world. Known as Rhythm Zero, Abramovich invited participants to do anything they desired to her for 6 hours using 72 objects, including scissors, a whip, and even a loaded gun. Everything started out calmly, but soon things started to heat up. As in the third hour, all of her garments were cut off by a man with a sharp blade. This was just the beginning, as within the next hour her throat was slit so that her blood could be sucked. Her body was subjected to a number of small sexual attacks. Soon a battle broke out between the spectators when a loaded weapon was pressed to her temple and her finger was twisted around the trigger. Rhythm Zero still remains a controversial and thought-provoking piece.
I never thought society would be trying to draw similarities between an performance artist, an illusionist, and an OnlyFans girl. It sounds like a dark joke, like what happened when the artist, magician, and prostitute walked into a bar. Anyway, moving on. Regarding the petting zoo, some people have high sensation seeking trait. They crave intense, novel experiences to feel alive.
The HSS has very strong need
for adventure or for experiences, and he or she usually has a lot of energy, and a dopamine and adrenaline rush feels very satisfying for them. So they seek that. HSS definitely like to do sports. Even extreme sports are familiar for them. Right? Some of them are also kind of workaholics. They have a lot of energy. They want to experience many things. High sensation seekers mostly consider themselves as the more extrovert HSP group, which is around 30% according to Elaine Aron.
A glass box public display ranks at the extreme end of this spectrum. Clinically, this can be viewed as a tactic to assert power, get attention, and draw control. By staging bizarre, headline-grabbing events, Bonnie confirms her dominance and presence in the attention economy. A key concept for the petting zoo is using her own body and humiliation as a tool for financial gain and notoriety. There's an interesting tension here. She may feel in control, but it's shaped by external validation. The psychology of childhood, maternal support, but absent father, clinically suggests a drive to reclaim visibility and override past feelings of abandonment or invisibility. Stunts like this allow her body and boundaries to become a public battleground where she controls the narrative. Clinically, testing limits and breaking platforms serves to test emotional boundaries and platforms themselves. The ban can act as another form of affirmation. I went too far, but I proved a point. Bonnie's trajectory aligns with someone who uses extreme public sexual content as a form of empowerment meets defense, turning potential shame into spectacle, converting emotional need into viral currency, and structuring her identity around risk and attention. While this yields financial success from a clinical view, it may also signify coping mechanisms related to autonomy, attachment history, and emotional regulation. I have questioned myself, is Bonnie Blue mentally ill? There is no clear evidence that exists suggesting Bonnie Blue meets the clinical threshold for a mental illness. However, there are some behavioural patterns that may warrant psychological reflection or support depending on her inner experiences and motivations. She speaks articulately about her choices and motivations. She has a strong family support, including her mother and stepfather. She appears emotionally resilient in the face of public criticism. She is goal-driven and capable of long-term planning, such as organising controversial stunts and producing viral content. However, I believe she may suffer from emotional deregulation. She has a compulsive pattern tied to validation. She is a risk taker as a form of emotional escape or thrill-based coping mechanism. Her identity is anchored in external validation. Much of her persona seems deeply tied to public reaction, sexual identity, and performance. If her self-worth is dependent on online approval or notoriety, she may be vulnerable to burnout, depressive crashes, or identity instability if that attention fades. Is she psychologically distanced from herself or disassociated? Has her internalized sexual objectification to the point it overrides self-care? Bonnie demonstrates a high-functioning, boundary-pushing adult identity that may serve as both a vehicle for empowerment and a shield against deeper emotional needs. Her behaviors reflect strong agency, but could also point to unresolved attachment wounds or compensatory mechanisms related to invisibility, power, and worth. This video has been made from an unbiased standpoint. So regarding thoughts in the comments, I really don't care to hear that you hate her or you think that she is disgusting. I also really don't care to hear that you love her and you want to be just like her. This isn't about support or lack of. This platform is a space of general intellect as to why we have created the kind of world we exist in. Comment on her behaviour. Comment what she means to feminism or the manosphere. Comment your thoughts and not your emotions. Is she mentally ill? How should society react? Are we as society worth saving? Thank you for making it to the end of my video. Subscribe, like and comment.